Welcome to this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on changing patterns of family life, looking at marriage and cohabitation. In recent years, the number of people getting married has declined year on year. In 2017, there were just over 240,000 marriages in the UK according to the Office for National Statistics, with 88% of those getting married being registered at the same address and therefore assumed to be cohabiting before they got married. While figures show a decline in marriage, one interesting trend is the rise in average age of people getting married, 38 years old for males and 35.7 years for females. This would seem to suggest that people are waiting longer to get married, but this figure includes second and subsequent marriages as well, so it might paint a slightly skewed picture, particularly given that 40% of marriages each year are not the first marriage for one of the partners. Traditionally, sociologists have focused on marriage between people of opposite sexes, but since same-sex relationships were allowed to have marriage status in 2013, there's been a growth in same-sex unions. In 2017, there were just under 7,000 same-sex marriages, and a further 1,072 couples converted their civil partnership to a marriage. There were slightly more female same-sex weddings than males, at 57% to 43%. Despite the increase in same-sex marriage, opposite-sex marriage has been falling, and sociologists look to examine reasons for why this is the case in contemporary society. In this video, we're going to apply our knowledge of sociological changes to explain reasons for the decline of marriage rates year on year. While some argued that marriage is simply being delayed, others would suggest the following reasons for the decline in marriages and the rise of alternative ways of being in a committed relationship without getting married. Firstly, the changing role of women in society, which has wide-ranging impacts on other trends in households, such as the increase in lone parents, lone person households, and the increase in divorce. Secondly, changing social attitudes to marriage and cohabitation, which again impacts on a range of different changes to the family. Rising divorce and the insecurity of relationships is another factor, whilst changing attitudes to institutions can be seen as a final explanation for the decline of popularity in marriage. And in this video, we're going to examine some of those reasons in more detail. The first explanation offered is the changing role of women. With the rise of second and third wave feminism, women's career aspirations have increased. Greater involvement in higher education and challenging for higher status positions in organisations has meant that for many women, career has become a priority over getting married and having a family. Whilst the idea of marriage has not been replaced, many women are choosing to become financially independent before entering into a marriage, and this has been accelerated by their career aspirations. Further advancements such as the control over reproductive rights and greater medical technologies have meant that many women are marrying in their late 20s and early 30s instead of their early 20s as in previous generations. The changing role of women has meant that they are looking for the right partner, one that can satisfy their intellectual and emotional needs rather than simply act as a provider. And this has led to many women choosing to delay marriage or opt out of getting married in favour of serial monogamy, finding a partner that suits the different stages of their lives. A second explanation for a decline in marriage is the change in social attitudes to relationships. In contemporary society, there are many different alternatives to traditional marriage, such as cohabitation or living apart together relationships, what we call LATs. And these have developed as a response to changes in social attitudes. Both Giddens' ideas of confluent love and Bauman's idea of liquid love demonstrate the changes in attitudes towards relationships, separating some functions of relationships, such as childbearing, from other aspects such as attraction. As a consequence, people opt for a series of relationships that will meet their individual needs, rather than focus on one relationship for a period of time. This is a result of greater reflexivity in society, as people question their choices and look to improve themselves rather than commit to a family unit. In contemporary society, people look to replace the security and stability of romantic love with the freedom and personal satisfaction of confluent love and serial monogamy. This leads to people opting for a series of relationships rather than just one lifelong relationship, although many do eventually marry, just later in life than in previous generations. A further explanation for the decline in marriage is the fear of divorce and the insecurity of relationships. Many people wait to get married to be certain that the person they they intend to be with is the right person for them. Rising divorce rates and the perception of relationships being more fragile in contemporary society has led people to attempt to control the emotional risks of a relationship ending by choosing either not to commit to a long-term relationship or to adopt other alternatives such as LATs or cohabitation before marriage. However, the divorce rate in society is falling and the number of remarriages is increasing, which suggests that fear of divorce may be diminished by the greater acceptance of serial monogamy. A final explanation is that of changing attitudes to social institutions. Some sociologists argue that in contemporary society the family provides less functions than in previous generations, and this has led individuals to find self-fulfillment through other forms such as their career, their hobbies or their education. People are also more likely to turn to support networks of friends to fulfill the functions of the family, such as emotional support, which reduces the desire to get married and form a family. The process of secularization has also impacted on the decline of marriage. More people are moving away from the collective morality of religious institutions and instead basing their decisions upon their own moral codes. This has led to a reduction in stigma attached to living together before marriage, or being single for a longer period of time. Evidence for the secularization of relationships can be seen by examining the number of weddings that took place in religious settings in 2017, with only 23% of weddings in religious premises, as people opted for alternatives such as destination weddings or civil ceremonies. With the decline in marriage, cohabitation and LAT relationships have increased. Many people opt to have trial marriages, either by living together or spending shorter periods of time in each other's company. Many sociologists have suggested that this forms a rehearsal of married life and allows individuals to see if they can live together harmoniously. Others suggest that cohabitation is a form of delaying marriage and suggest it is temporary in nature, as evidenced by the 88% of marriages in the UK in 2017 being from people who lived together before they were getting married. That concludes this Tutor to You sociology topic video on changing patterns of family life, looking at marriage and cohabitation. Thanks for watching.